we need to factor out a 5. And since they all have x's, I pull out the smallest number of x's, which is x to the first power. And then I divide it. And that's going to give me 5 divided by 5 is 1. And x cubed divided by x, I just take 1 away and get x squared. Then the 15, x squared, 15 divided by 5 is 3. And x squared divided by x, I take 1 away and get left with just an x, and it's a positive 3x. Then I divide negative 5 divided by 5 is 1. And then I take away an x, and I'm left with none. And it's a negative 1. Any questions over that? Now this 5x, my GCF, I need to bring down here and just add it at the end. I don't want to forget about one of the factors of 5x of that trinomial. Then I'm going to either try and factor by grouping, if there's 4 terms, or use our box. So I need to remember that I take this and it goes into my box. So the first time is x squared here. Then in this circle, my middle terms should combine to 3x. Okay. And then I have negative 1 there. Any questions over that? Then we try to factor it. Haley D, what multiplies to my x squared? X and x. So this is the length and the width of this square. Okay, then we need to move on. Jacob P, what multiplies to 1? Okay, let's do 1 and 1. 1 times the 1 will give me the area of this box, which is 1. Okay, we're not sure about the negatives and positives quite yet, so just leave them a B for now. Then we check it. This is 1 times my x to get 1x. This is my x times the 1 to get 1x. This is a negative, so I know I'm subtracting. If I subtract the 1 and the 1, do I get 3? No. If I switch the 1 and the 1, would that change anything? No. Is there anything else that multiplies to 1 other than 1 times 1? Is there anything else that multiplies to x squared other than x times x? Okay, so we're done. So this trinomial is prime. Because there's nothing that I can multiply together to get x squared plus 3x minus 1. So I just take that trinomial and I multiply it by the GCF, which I found earlier. And these are my factors. Any questions over that? Yes. That's your answer. That's as far as you can factor it. That's the smallest it'll go. Okay, let's try the next one. Okay, so again, we're always going to start with the GCF. Okay, there's an x involved, and is there anything else that can both be divided by? 3. Okay. So we're going to find the GCF first. There's only 2 terms, so I don't need to make the box that big. Okay, so we determined there's an x involved, but there's also, they can both be divided by 3. So then I divide. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And x cubed divided by x, I take 1 away and I get squared, x squared left. Do the same thing with the 21. Negative 21 divided by 3 is negative 7. And then x divided by x, I take 1 away and I'm left with none. Okay, so now we're going to see if we can factor this further. So this right here goes in here. You have your 2x squared here, your number by itself, and that middle term that we're missing is 0 x's. The middle should combine these two missing squares, should get combined to 0x. Okay, Bobby, what multiplies to 2x squared? That would be giving me x squared. What about 2? 2x and x. Very good. The one what multiplies to 7? 7 and 1. Okay, let's check if that works at all. Okay, so we multiply this 7 times the x to get 7x. Then we multiply this 2x times the 1 to get 2x. Now this means I'm subtracting. If I subtract those, do I get 0? No. Okay, so let's switch it. Erase all this stuff. Let's put the 7 here and the 1 here and see if that works at all. So again, 1 times x now will give me 1x. And then 2 times 7 now will give me 14x. If I subtract that, will it give me 0? No. Okay, is there anything else that multiplies to the 7? No. Is there anything else that multiplies to 2? No. Okay, so we can't factor that any further either. This is prime. So my factors are the 3x times the 2x squared minus 7. Any questions over that? Yes?
Do you ever put the GFC in with the top left corner? Would you ever, is there any way you would ever do that?
Do what?
So like, where you put like where the 2x squared is?
No.
Never.
Nope. Don't do that. Okay. Next one. You always start with the GCF. Is there anything that they can all be divided by? No. 5 can't be divided by 2. 15 can't be divided by 2. They don't all have an X. They don't all have a Y. So no, there's no GCF. There are 4 terms. So we're going to factor by grouping. So that means you don't need the circle in the middle because the middle terms aren't going to combine to anything. They're not like terms. So we just place the 2x squared, the 6x, the negative 5xy, and the negative 15y all here. And then we group the first two terms together. Isaac, what can they both be divided by? Two and 5 can't be divided by number, but what about the variables? Do they have a common variable? So that I can factor out an x. Then I'm going to group the next two. Michelle, what can they both be divided by? The 6x and the negative 15y. Can they be divided by 2? Can they be divided by 3? Yes, let's full out of 3. Okay, and because the 6 is positive, the 3 is going to be positive. Then we're going to factor out this way. Trevor, what can 2 and 6 both be divided by? 2, what about the variable? 2 and an x. They both have x's. Last one. Rihanna, what can these both be divided by? Negative 5. What about a variable? Y. They both have a y. And that first one's negative, so you have to factor out a negative there. To check your work, you're actually going to divide this whole bottom here. So negative 5 divided by negative 5 is 1. And then the y will cancel out. So then that will become just the x. There we go. And then negative 15 divided by negative 5 is 3. And then we have the y. We'll cancel out. So this matches this up here. So we've done this correct. So my factors are the x plus 3 times the 2x minus 5y. Any questions over that? Okay, do the next one in your pairs. Okay, so this next one, yes. This next one is another factoring by grouping. So we just need to draw this in. This is 4x cubed plus 12x squared, 3x, and 9. Okay, we need to quiet down now. Shh. Thank you. So we factor out this way. They both have x's, but 4 and 3 are not divisible by anything other than, right? They can't be divided by both by something. Then the 12 and the 9 can both be divided by 3. And it's positive because the 12 is positive. Then the 4 and the 12, x squared, can both be divided by 4. And the smallest x is x squared. So you pull out the x squared there. And then our last one is 3. They both can be divided by 3. And then we're going to check. 3 divided by 3 is x, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. And these both match. So I've done this correctly. And I should have 4x squared plus 3, and then x plus 3. Any questions over that? We're going to start again by seeing if they have a GCF. Is there anything they both can be divided by? 5. So we're going to factor out a 5. So we have our 20x squared and then minus 45y squared. If I factor out a 5, I will get 4x squared minus 9y squared. From there, we'll try and see if I can factor it further. I want to first make sure I move that 5 down. So I don't forget about it. Oopsie. And I forgot about my circle in the middle. So let me do that. There's not 4 terms, so I need that circle for the middle terms to combine to something. So this goes into my box. I have my 4x squared here and my negative 9y squared here. And the middle is going to be 0xy's. Then I'm going to see what they can multiply to. Esteban, what can 4x squared multiply? What multiplies to 4x squared? Okay, so I'm going to have 2x and 2x here. Harrison, what multiplies to 9? 3 and it has a y, so 3y and 3y. Then we're going to check those middle terms. The 3 times the 2 is 6xy. And then the 2 times the 3 is 6xy as well. Now I know I'm subtracting. If I subtract them, do I get 0? Yes. So in this case, it doesn't matter which one's negative. You can make either one of them negative. But make sure you pull out the negative here and pull out the positive here. And so my factors now are 5 times the 2x plus 3y. And then the 2x minus the 3y. Any questions over that? We're all good? Okay, 2.6, the other side of it. Let's start. Is there a GCF? Is there something that 4, 8, and 21 can all be divided by? No, right? Okay, so then we're just going to use the box. There's no GCF. So I have my 4x squared minus 8xy in the middle and minus 21y squared. Sabrina multiplies to 4x squared. Just 2x and 2x. You don't need them both to have the x squared. It's all right. We know what you mean. Janie, what multiplies to 21? 3. And because it has a y squared, we put 3y and 7y. Then we're going to check. The 3 times the 2 is 6xy. And then this 2 times the 7 is 14xy. I know they're going to be opposite signs. If I subtract them, do I get -8? Okay, which one needs to be negative to get a -8? The 6 or the 14? 14 needs to be negative because the bigger number needs to match. So that 6 needs to be positive. That means this 3 is positive and that this 7 is negative. So my factors are the 2x minus 7y times the 2x plus 3y. And again, it doesn't matter what order you put them in. They can be in any order, as long as you have them both. Any questions? Okay, next one. Is there anything they can all be divided by? Not a 3, but an x. So we're going to take the GCF out. So it's 9x cubed minus 12x squared plus 4x. And I can divide everything by x. That'll give me 9x squared minus 12, just an x, take 1 away. And then plus the 4, again, I take away an x, and there's none left. That. We're going to see if we can factor it any further by using our box. So we have the 9x squared here, the negative 12x here, and the positive 4. Isaac, what multiplies to 9? 3x and 3x. Good. Tori, what multiplies to 4? 2 and 2. Then we're going to check. 3x times 2 is 6x. And then this 3 times this 2 is 6x. I know I'm going to add them, but I need a negative 12. So I need them both to be negative. If I add them both, do I get a negative 12? Is negative 6 and negative 6 negative 12? Yes. Yes. Okay, that means this needs to be negative as well. And this 2 needs to be negative. I can't forget about my x that I factored out way at the beginning. So my factors are x times 3x minus 2, and then times 3x minus 2. Or they may write it as x times 3x minus 2, since they match exactly, squared. Any questions over that? Okay, try to do the next two in your pairs.